Club is back today, and we are going to dabble in the Eliminator streets once again. We did this a little bit ago, but now we have the schedule and we have an Eliminator thought leader, dare I say, Crutches, joining us today to talk about his experiences maxing this contest. So we are going to hop in a draft right now, chop it up with Crutches. This is the Club with Pete, Clay, and Andy. Let's do it. All right. Welcome back to the Club, Andy, Clay, and Crutches. Crutches, I believe this is your third time on the program. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I think third time. We talked crypto once, and I forget what else the other time. Dog Bowl, maybe?
Dog Bowl. You would come off your boxing match in Dubai.
Yeah. Talking like crypto bottom stuff with Jennings, I think.
That is fun. I did already hop us into an Eliminator here. I asked right before the show, I was like, oh, Crutches, do you want to hop in the draft yourself? And then I forgot you have already maxed this contest. How did that happen? Did you do it all via slow drafts?
No, it's 150 fast.
Are you serious?
My skin hasn't seen the sun in ages, so I've just been grinding away. Yeah, 150 fast. I've just been like multi-tabling them for the most part if I can, but it's usually like one fills as one's finishing up. Sometimes I can get 3 going at once, but that's about max.
That's incredible. For some reason, I just assumed like, okay, maybe you got in like 25 fast and then you just got it all via slows. That's incredible. We're gonna today, Clay, Crutches, and I are gonna draft on mine. Andy's right behind us at the 104. 1-3 here. Crutches, is CeeDee Lamb a gift here?
Yeah, he's my 1-1 in Eliminators too. So,
Clay, you down for CeeDee?
Full cosign on my end.
All right, let's do it.
That feels like a gift.
Andy, talk us through your pick, and then we'll circle back and hear some of kind of Crutch's high-level thoughts on this contest.
I'm not gonna do anything crazy there. I've been taking Chase and then Jefferson. Sometimes I'm like not totally convinced that people aren't going to regret Jefferson still being behind Chase end of the season, but I don't need to plant that flag.
Yeah. So, Crutches, when we did our Eliminator stream a few weeks ago, I think it was right before the schedule had dropped, which wasn't ideal, obviously, for this format. We were joking about Eliminator ass picks. I know you've been drafting a ton in other contests as well. What are kind of the big differences for you in this contest?
Yeah. Well, first off, like no free ads, obviously, but like go read Herzig's article. I think it's a good like starting point to understand the contest. I did so myself and then just kind of form my thoughts based off of that. But at a high level, like you're playing a 16-week cash game contest, right? It's good for the cash game king. But and then week 17 is a not much smaller, but it's a 119 person final. So I think something that even this morning I was just starting to read the new like manifesto update too, and like he talks about how even in a GPP, like advance rate is the number one thing that could really increase your EV in the tournament, and I think that matters even more in this tournament. So yeah, it's actually less of a like Eliminator ass pick type of thing. I've taken a lot of like Xavier Worthy, Lamb McConkey, highest owned wide receiver in this format. So I'm fine taking upside shots on players. It's more of like I'm a total bye week bro for the most part in this format. I have a very like strict, like ideally 3-6-7-2 build, zero running back like every single time. And so it's pretty much, I try to like, it's like, if you were to look at like the Jacquard similarities of my teams in here, it's like very exploitative. And it's very like, I mean, you probably don't need to be player take heavy, but like construction wise, it's very, very similar every single time. And I think the way I'm doing it is like trying to think of how you build a cash game team on DFS any given week. And then how do you translate that to season long, right? That's like where I started thinking about it for the most part.
One of the things I think that put my mind in a pretzel the most is I really like the idea of having, 3 at the onesie positions, but then you'll sometimes get some pretty big elite QB or elite tight end fallers. How have you been playing that? Will you stop at 2 for 2 quarterbacks ever?
Yeah. I I mean, I say yes, but that's like if I'm completely locked out. So like one thing I'm doing is like once you probably get to like past Antonio Gibson, who's like my highest owned running back in this format. Once I get past like 165, I'm basically like fine to reach for like a ADP 200 Derek Carr if I need a third quarterback, because I know that like a lot of people seem to start to like do this strategy. And so you'll see like a big run on quarterbacks go a lot of times, right? Like as everyone's trying to get a third quarterback. So like I'm very much fine. Just like I have Drake May as my highest owned quarterback in this along with Derek Carr. So like I just basically start grabbing my third quarterback, and then I also just like, and this is for all formats, but like I think the wide receiver tier break from like the Jalen Polk, Xavier Legette, Ricky Pearsall till like Khalif Raymond is just like all possible zeros in that range, like Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. There's like no reason to not take tight end wide receiver there or tight end quarterback. And then you just come back and you can grab like Greg Dortch and Khalif Raymond or, you know, Jalen McMillan or whatever you want in the 18th. And it's just as good of a pick as like a 16th round or 15th round wide receiver.
We got a fun draft here as Tyler notes. We got D's, Crutches, and the club here. D's at the 5 hole. Andy grabs Devontae Adams, and our crew is on the clock here. What do we like, fellas?
I would be Nico Collins here probably.
That's
Clay,
right. That was my name. Yeah, I'm Nico.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Easy money.
Crutches, I'm curious with the 0 RB every time. Are you, you know, kind of contrary to BBM 0 RB, more so shying away from rookies and guys with less projectable stuff and more like give me the Devin Singletary, those kind of guys? Or how are you balancing like just needing to make sure you have that floor running back?
Yeah, it's mainly like floor. I would say like there's not any targets I have. Like the eliminator ass pick thing, I think is like not a trap. Like there're probably some good picks like a Josh Palmer or something, but I don't think I have like almost any of him because he goes where the running backs go. But like I would say I don't have guys like Javonte Williams because there's a chance they're like a really big miss if like, you know, Estime gets 30% of the carries, Jaleel gets a bunch of work. You know, so like let's say a guy like him, but for the most part, I'm taking values, like just trying to hammer running back from, you know, the typical Jaylen Warren range down to Antonio Gibson.
We are on the clock. Devonta Smith does give us that week 17 correlation. Yep. Is that the pick for you guys?
I'd be him or Cup, yeah, but I'd probably lean for the week 17.
Clay, you like
I'll
Devonta?
go that. I would go Achane or Devonta, so I'm down with Devonta if we want to lean into
little 0 RB angle. That is Crutches mentioned it, and I know it seems it's weird this year with the eliminator, because last year I think the eliminator final was like 5 teams. You know, it's a like week 17 correlation didn't matter at all. But now this year you land in a pretty big final. So I do think you're trying to balance this idea of those elements. Crutches said the bye weeks are big, your structure, being sure you can be resilient through those bye weeks and injuries and stuff. But then you also still need the late season upside in week 17.
Yeah. So like at a high level, I think about it like, and Pete, you've obviously played more DFS than I have, right? But when you're building a cash team, you're either looking for value at like quarterback and tight end, but like in cash, you're almost never like spending up big at tight end. So that's why I do the 2 tight ends, and it's oftentimes like, so Juwan Johnson I have 50% of, sadly, all before the injury.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, it's you know, it's whatever, but he should be fine. But at like basically, if you're advancing like 8 out of 12 teams a given week, like you can advance with a 0 at tight end, I think, no problem. And so it's why I like typically will hammer like 5 straight wide receivers, or maybe like, you know, 5 in the first 6 rounds, and basically stop till the 18th round and take 2 late, right? So I'm basically like these 5 studs, ideally with no bye week overlap, are just going to like score for me every single week. I get 2 guys that are maybe like decent floor guys like Khalif Raymond, Greg Dortch, you know, Rondale Moore, whatever you're taking the 18th. And then like mix in, you know, the Pacheco range where it gets kind of a little bit dead at wide receiver. And then if I'm making a quarterback or a onesie detour, it's usually quarterback, like if there's a good value, just because I'm like, I have some elite tight end teams, but it's just, you don't need the ceiling as much. And like, if I can just get Hunter Henry, Juwan Johnson, or like Jonnu Smith, I'm fine with those 2 and just like if I scored, 7 points, that's fine, whatever. So.
Yeah. I mean, so much of the selling point, I mean, I'm a very big elite tight end bro in the traditional underdog contest, but it is because of those pod dynamics and needing to finish first and just knowing one of those guys can absolutely bury you. Obviously, it would be very handy if you land on the guy who returns a Travis Kelce, like, old school Jimmy Graham season. You're going to want that guy in any format, but I think those are harder to come by. And it does make me even want to change my preferences for the elite tight ends I pick. Like the more volatile guys like Kittle and Pitts probably take even more of a ding. Maybe some of the volume merchants like a Dalton Kincaid, maybe a Trey McBride, a Kelsey, obviously, like those guys still, I think, could be in the mix. But like a Laporta at 312, I get really spooked by that kind of price in this format.
Yeah, I think I'm mainly, if I'm going elite tight end, it's probably Kelsey in this format. And then, yeah, Kincaid, you're making the bet that he is their only good receiver. Him and Curtis Samuel just eating up short targets or whatever it is. Yeah, I think that's the way to play it if you're going to do that. And then I think the last thing was with the one thing that I think it kind of differs from DFS cash games is last year you were probably locking CMC and then grabbing a second cheap running back Zach Moss when he's cheap or Zamir White late in the season, stuff like that, just because it's such projectable. But I think here, getting a decent floor from 6 running backs, ideally with different bye weeks, and then just having, the committee running backs are really, really good because they're all cheap here, and maybe you hit on them. If not, Chase Brown, Zach Moss give you a solid floor probably. And then with quarterbacks specifically, a lot of times you'd spend up on, the Justin Fields, the Josh Allens and cash just to get the projectable points. And then I think here, like I said, you can take a 0 at tight end in advance. You can't do that at quarterback. So that's why I go 3, basically never overlapping buys. And instead of spending up dollar-wise in a draft capital sense, I spend up as far as positional allocation. So, if you're getting Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and then backstack Drake May, boom, that's 3 really good quarterbacks, most likely one with some rushing upside, late season upside as a rookie. So that's kind of how I've been playing it.
I'm Pacheco here all day. I know Crutch just mentioned him.
Yeah, what do you like Pacheco, or have you been leaning into the 0 RB stuff?
I would go Pacheco here. There's something I kind of want to set up, but we'll see. I don't want to talk about it on stream. So.
Oh, I love it. Look at this. This guy's a
hit the chat, baby. Hit
here.
The chat.
Yeah, we'll grab Pacheco here. So did you say you had 100% exposure to 0 RB? Is this your first Pacheco click?
No. So I guess I'm and I have some Jahmyr Gibbs or CMC. I sprinkled in some CMC. I'm not always just going to fade him 1-1.
Yeah.
But just at a higher level, yeah, I'm going to play it through the modified hero RB, I would say, for the most part, or pure 0 RB with Jaylen Warren. It's my RB1. So it's one of those two. But I do have a decent amount of Pacheco. If ETN falls, I'll click him, stuff like that. But yeah, it's usually more so is wide receiver dead here, and I'm just getting a possible workhorse running back. Then yeah, because that's the one thing Herzig talks about. We'll do the pick here, but yeah, I wanted Mahomes here with Pacheco, but
yeah,
I'm fine. I'd be fine here with Joe Mixon for the workload, or I think Keenan Allen is fine.
Yeah, to me, if we're gonna have done our running back, I kind of like the Keenan angle here. What do you guys think?
That's
yeah,
fine. We got 2 secs, so
I was hoping I could get Keenan there, but I'll take Mixon.
You almost did. Yeah, but my fingers snapped into action there. Here's a question for you, because I was looking at that Crutches when I noticed he did have our first overlapping bye week with CD. What is your threshold for to what extent does your bye week bro nature extend here?
I mean, I definitely don't you're naturally, especially in a 7 wide receiver room, you're going to have some overlap. But a lot of it is what the room gives you. It's a boring answer, but I probably don't want more than 3 wide receivers, and especially week 12, week 14 is the most common you'll see. So yeah, I'm usually just grabbing one or skinny stacking a team. And then, if I'm forced to, then I'll take 2 or 3 from the same bye week. But I guess ideally you'd rather have it in like week 12, week 14. It's the hardest to advance from buys, but it's also like you're in the cash already. So you can kind of take that little bit of a risk.
Here's our team so far through 5 rounds. We have started CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith, Pacheco, and then Keenan. Andy has Chase, Adams, Cup, and then grabs ETN and Joe Mixon. Dan in the chat talking about the Bijan London Achane start. To me, Achane is probably one of the guys that loses a bump in value in this format relative to the kind of the BBM spikes. Do you guys agree with that?
I think that's right. I mean, I have some confidence that like even on a shitty week, he can likely get you, potentially RB2 score to hit your lineup this year. If we're saying that he makes a leap forward, I'm pretty bullish on him overall. But I do agree format wise, like he's a way better pick for me in a best ball format or a different format that's not trying to scoop up like eliminator ass picks. I will say, Andy, Adams Cup, 2 eliminator ass picks. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm stacking them.
It is because like again, you're just flipping the idea of like we all when we click HN and BBM, it's like this guy could drop a 50 burger in week 16 and you have to have him to get to the finals. He'll be like 75% owned. Like that could happen. Whereas here you get the 50 burger and I guess if it's in week 16, that's a good week to get it. But if you get it in like week 13, like that's not like helping your advance rate for the entire regular season. Like it's literally just helping you 1 week.
So I will say I have, I think 6% Devonta Adams. So I don't actually like him too much at all, but in this format either. Like I think there's downside risk just with the team being that bad, and obviously like the age cliff stuff. So yeah, I saw like I think rookies are all of my most owned wide receivers just because I'm always clicking somebody in the Rome, Addison, Ladd range as far as like double tapping receiver there. So but yeah, so for running backs like Joe Mixon, I have 17%. He's my highest like modified zero or modified hero RB, and then 12% Pacheco, and then I do have 9% HN. Like I agree with Clay, like he's fine in this format. I'm just like being conscious of bye weeks, especially with him with like Ty Chandler having the same bye week. It's like before the actual week. I think you cash in week 7, so so it's just a little bit like something you have to work around after you take him.
I'm laughing, or let's make this pick here. I mean, we mentioned the Xavier Worthy, like coming all the way back here seems nice to me. Do you guys see anything else?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Or stack up Stroud would be the other pick.
I would take Worthy here.
Yeah, I can go with that.
I'm low on Stroud anyway this season as far as like I think he's being drafted at his ceiling, but and I think his ADP is already moving down, but it should move down probably to like 70 or so is where it'll end up, I would think. So I don't think it's like a huge value long term.
What do you think of just like in general, like kind of the correlations? Obviously, we have the Pacheco Worthy. Do you still kind of like getting the teammate correlations here minus the bye week stuff?
Yeah. So the reason earlier I wanted to do Mahomes with his running back is sacrilegious. I think I was DMing him about it, and quarterback stacked with a running back like eliminates the bottom 20% of outcomes pretty decently. So you're basically playing for floor with that, which makes sense. Like they can kind of ping pong back and forth. And if you have 3 quarterbacks, it's really not too much of a worry.
I like that.
I would still not take Stroud here. I would go like
really.
Deontay Johnson's an eliminator ass pick for sure.
Yeah. So I'm actually a lot of times I'll get to like 550 in draft capital wide receiver and then just stop till round 18. So like I'd be fine with JSN. I kind of like JSN over Deontay, but either one's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm good with that.
All right, we can, last time we did this, we made all the eliminator ass picks. This time, we're going to do a little bit sexy here. I was just going to mention one other funny thing in this room. The drafter out of the 10 hole took Josh Allen at 39, then passed on Dalton Kincaid at 63 to take David Njoku. I've been trying to figure out what happened there.
We might be on DraftKings right now. I don't know.
So talk a little bit more. Is the Stroud stuff? It sounds like maybe a combo of your eval, your personal kind of take on it, and then also what the elite quarterback does for you in this format.
Yeah, I mean, if this was like BBM, like even there, like I've gotten some Stroud shares even early when he wasn't falling as much at like 78. If I have like two, like say I get like, you know, Nico Diggs or something, and then if the tank drafter doesn't take them and everybody's smart and stays in their lane, like you can get them later. But especially in this format, like what's really like for me, if I'm taking 3 quarterbacks, like what's the delta between like CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert or something, or, you know, Trevor Lawrence, who might just outscore Stroud straight up this year. Like, obviously I'm not saying that like Stroud is a complete outlier. But like, you know, like, yeah, for me, it's like Trevor Lawrence range is so nice for quarterback. And then you can just come back with like 2 of Drake May and Derek Carr or Geno Smith, Fant, whatever you want. So I would rather just get like this wide receiver room. Like you can take a bunch of, like you said, good, like explosive wide receivers. It doesn't have to be boring. And then you get like minimum 5 in the first like 6 or 7 rounds, you know, sometimes 6 if somebody falls. And then like I've seen Rashee Rice go like 95, 97 in this format.
Wow.
And then I'll tag him on as like my wide receiver 6. Like how comfortable is that room? Like I don't care about the first 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then you're basically done. Like I've considered doing like 3-7-6-2 builds or something like that. But it's like at a certain point, I want like the floor so I can just punt it till the last round. But I think, yeah, this you get a little bit uncomfortable at like running back, but it's like if you treat Pacheco like he's going to like, you know, be a really good RB1 value for us, then we just tag on, you know, all of the Jaylen Warren, Jonathan Brooks types, and then just go from there. And you're like, it feels pretty comfortable.
Andy, you went Rome Deontay, and we did Xavier Worthy JSN. So that was very similar picks, rookie wide receiver, and then you know, our slot wide receiver guys there after. What other guys do you think have a massive value change in Eliminator relative to BBM stuff?
I know it's something that Crutches had said previously, but to me, a lot of the like later quarterbacks are just people who I definitely bump up, especially if I feel like there's a bit of a floor with rushing. I think it is really nice to have that in something like this. Like I know he said that Drake May is his highest owned quarterback, and you know, if you kind of just close your eyes and pretend the chances that he doesn't play for some period of time don't exist, like his ADP is totally insane, because if he starts every game or almost every game, like the floor that you'll get from his rushing is just huge compared to everyone else in that range.
Yeah. And to be fair, I'm a Drake May guy. Like I think I was a little concerned about like the bye or sitting for a while, but like when I read the thing about him starting behind Zappy as the 3rd quarterback, I was like, this is just Patriots BS. Like I'm not saying he won't sit like a decent amount of games, but like if they had said like, oh, he's the backup to start, right? Then I would be like, okay, this is like a legitimate like Brissett thing. But the fact that it's like such Patriots BS to be like, he's behind Bailey Zappi, like that's not a thing. So like, they're like, oh, he's passed him for number 2 on the depth chart. I'm like, nah, I'm good taking him. This is where like, I would be fine taking a falling Joe Burrow, but like I'm fine with naked quarterback here, but I think Zach Moss and James Conner are probably too good to pass here.
I was going to
Like
ID
Conner,
those guys
yeah.
too. Who do you like, Clay?
I would go Connor personally over Moss.
One thing I'll
both.
say is
Unless you want to go
when
Moss and then hope Burrow falls, we could do that too.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I agree with you, Clay. I probably prefer Connor there, but it's like it's such a coin flip that like if none of these guys take Burrow, then it's, you know. And if we miss him, it's
so quickly on the I know the Moss Burrow thing now is open to us. Is that still more attractive to you than Dak with CD and then potentially tacking on a Dallas running back later?
I would still go. Yeah, I guess I wasn't looking close, but like Dak, I would still take it. Like I think he could still be like in BBM. He could be like QB1 overall.
Yeah.
They don't have the passing game, but yeah, either way, like we take Moss and it just gives us options if some rando snipes Dak too. So there we go.
Well, gets fed to us anyways. Yeah, I mean, like every time I have CD, I'm honestly hoping to scoop Dak at value, but I'll take him at ADP because I'm just kind of hoping, you know, if CD's wide receiver 1, Dak's gonna have a good year.
Yeah, the other thing about Dak at value, or like you know, the Jake Ferguson drafters behind us, Kindler's probably not going to pass on him twice at 102 and 115. Like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Dak should be like a 70 ADP anyway. Like he should probably go next to Stroud. Like why is Stroud going ahead of Dak? Like it makes no sense. Like they should, or not that he should be behind him, but like they should probably go together.
It really is just that whole dynamic about like how many of his receivers go ahead of him. Like with the Houston, you have 3 guys to potentially take Stroud versus you usually got Fergie on the board to worry about if you have CD to get Dak. So.
Yeah. I feel like with Dak, there's just some amount of just like him not being cool that somehow translates to like even in this, people don't like taking Dak because something about him just isn't cool or isn't fun.
It just means he's eliminator ass pick. So
I do think it's what Clay said. I think it's the stacking options aren't fun. You're just like, I have CD. All right, let's go. And then it's like, no one wants to click Brandon Cooks. Like Ferguson, it's like, why don't I just wait 5 more picks and take Brock Bowers? It's just like, it's such a hard thing to get excited about. I was just going to say, I feel like Brock Bowers, I know this is like double counting because he's my favorite pick, one of my favorite picks in BBM, but I feel like he's the perfect eliminator pick because the draft capital is low enough that you can easily do 3 tight end builds with him, but the talent is so good that he could be an elite tight end monster down the stretch.
Speaking of Dak, you have the TLDR on Gretch's 4-hour and 40-minute podcast that teased a Dallas Cowboys wide receiver.
Whose podcast?
Gretch's. He dropped a 4-hour, 40-minute podcast that I haven't listened to yet, but it teased a Cowboys wide receiver. So I got it in the queue to digest the parts.
Brooks, right? One. There was I think what he was referencing is there was a beat reporter who said like the top Cowboys in OTAs, and there was some new receiver, I think his last name is Brooks, who apparently is like, Jalen Brooks, who apparently like has been doing really well. Yeah. And like might compete with Tolbert for the number 3 spot.
I can't wait till we get our first like just out of nowhere guy that was like not a single one of us knew, and then all of a sudden we're just all slamming in like round 13 by mid-August.
Yeah.
The guy that wasn't drafted in the first 24 puppies.
Yeah. All right. I actually saw this morning as well. Dees wants Crutch's thought on Joe Burrow's runway appearance, him and Justin Jefferson. I'll see if I can pull this up while Crutch's weighs in.
Yeah, no, Dees is just teeing me up. He knows my thoughts. Like, he's off the draft board. You can't walk around with a backlist, Tux, my guy. It's a little too much.
Yeah, let's see if I can find this. You got to get the right photo because
wild.
Yeah, the open. Oh, here it is. All right.
I was watching. I was like, this is normal, like typical, like diva quarterback, wide receiver stuff. And then I saw him like walk past the camera. And like, brother.
I mean, what is that? Oh man,
it's really bad tan line.
We're gonna miss our pick because I'm looking at a backlist. Where am I here? Eliminator. All right, we are on the clock. Sorry to make a scramble here.
Probably a Goddard smash pick here.
Goddard, yeah.
Yeah, week 17.
Billy too, week 17. I'm into it.
I have 18% Goddard and then 12% Brock Bowers. Similar to what you said. I came up on him later, but I think like this is a spot I'll a lot of times double like Goddard Bowers and just be done. I know you do that in BBM too, but I think it's fine here. The only reason I wouldn't do it here is just to like get a little bit more like running back floor and then just come back with one of the Hunter Henrys. It's a little bit more palatable.
Yeah. And now this is definitely getting into the sweet spot. We got 2 running backs, Zach Moss and Pacheco. Pacheco buys us a little leeway too of not feeling like we're going to miss out on a huge run, which is kind of nice.
I honestly like Pacheco as an anchor RB. I like Ford here. I've warmed up to Eckler a lot, but Ford just feels like he's going to get you a lot of usable weeks for a good portion of the season.
Can you go back to running back real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, this is kind of gross. I would probably reach on Charbonnet here.
Yeah. I'm definitely good with that. Yeah, let's take Charbonnet, but yeah, let's talk about Ford. I just recorded a video with Liam, and Jerome Ford was his favorite player. I was kind of giving a little bit of pushback on it, but Clay, what's your thoughts on Ford? More eliminator, just knowing you're going to get that early production?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I thought he was, pretty solid last year. And to me, like, if Chubb's not going to be playing for a minute, like it feels like you're going to get some usable usable weeks out of him unless I'm missing something on the board. So yeah, I like Ford a lot. Like I thought he was, looked pretty fresh out there.
Would you have considered reaching there for Rico to get that kind of running back, quarterback thing, or just kind of trying to still play it at ADP?
I would go more ADP personally. I think I don't know if I'm like that's a combo I'm reaching for per se, but I do really like the thought that Crutches brought up earlier. Via sack is that the running back QB pairing is very enticing, but I don't know. For me, just for some reason, it's not what I'm as inclined to really go out of my way for. Especially when you start considering bye week stuff. So at that point, I kind of would rather go for RB that I feel like could get you some usable scoring, first 10 weeks of the season and hopefully beyond.
Andy went after Brock, grabbed Caleb to stack up with Rome, and then Brandon Cooks there. Any other thoughts, Crutches on those?
Taking Lawrence there instead of Cooks because I have ETN. But I have a couple other really late quarterback stacks that I was happy to kind of push it. I was able to push Caleb, around past ADP and wanted to try to do that with Lawrence as well. I figured he wouldn't come back to me, but kind of one of those positions where it's like I'm comfortable enough to see if he falls, and if he does, great. If not, there's other guys I can take.
Here's the lowdown via our guy Chicago Spartan. Jalen Brooks out of South Carolina, second year, 7th round pick, only 6 catches rookie year, only seemed to play in blowouts, 6'2", 205. There's your scouting report.
Apparently he's doing well. I don't know.
Yeah, so the running back quarterback thing, because I think it's actually perfectly viable just to draft a completely uncorrelated team in this, provided you're just positionally allocating well, bye week stuff. So I would have no problem if I needed a quarterback just taking, Trevor Lawrence naked. Maybe Gabe Davis falls back to us. If not, I'm not worried, etc. So the one thing I wanted to counter on, this is obviously a player take thing, which is it's all variance, depending on how much you want to embrace. I have 0 Jerome Ford across any contest. I think is one of the worst running back picks on the board. I just think it's all of Chandler, Marshawn Lloyd, Rico Dowdle, Zeke are better picks than him. I think Nick Chubb's a better pick than him for late season. And I think just Jerome Ford had an entire season to show out, and he did nothing except for that 75-yard run in the first game. He was usable, but he's not a guy who's going to take over a backfield. I think Deontay Foreman's probably a better pure runner than him. So early season, I actually just prefer Deontay Foreman in this contest. So it's a bet I'm willing to make because I think all of the guys going in the 140s at running back I like more. So it's especially when he was 137, that was fine, but he's 127 ADP now, which seems pretty wild to me.
Yeah.
I almost never click his name too.
Deez and Andy know who I want at this pick, so it would have been all 3 running backs who went. So the guys behind us. Normally, there's a guy I'm just going to reach on here. Let's see.
We could grab Freiermuth.
I don't mind Freiermuth, to be honest. I like him.
Personally, I take Antonio Gibson here, but it's just what.
I think we can push Gibson.
It's not D's and then behind me. So
the the Freiermuth thing I like kind of with that same idea of you can grab. I think going Freiermuth Goddard allows us to go 2 or 3 tight ends, where maybe after that it starts to feel a little fringy, and we have the correlation with KC in week 17, and another QB target potentially. Although Justin Fields, that's a pretty risky eliminator pick right there.
So we know let's look at our wide receivers again.
Yeah.
We know we're going to need Geno at some point, which is fine. We're fine to reach on him.
Geno?
Yeah. With JSN.
Not here.
Disgusting. Geno's not finishing the season.
That's
what?
This
is
I'll
the
have 0% Geno. I'll have 0% Geno.
I don't get any of those takes. This isn't a Daniel Jones situation, and he played extremely well, by the numbers last year. While Sam Howell can't get the ball out without getting sacked 8 times a game.
So I'm gonna click
It's not even a Sam Howell take. It's just like I don't think Geno does anything for any team. I just don't get it at all.
You can take that over.
I think he's one of the worst. I think he's one of the worst picks you can make at quarterback. I would take pretty much any other quarterback over Geno. Yeah, it's awful.
He's not one of the worst picks, Clay.
I think so. I mean, I'll have 0% Geno exposure, and I'll be sleeping comfy at night.
They have one of the best 3 wide receiver sets in the league. They have an entirely new coaching staff, different approach this year. I do agree with you. Like, if he plays awful, he could get benched. But I think you can literally say that about basically every quarterback going that late.
I mean, I agree. Like, does he have higher bench risk than like Derek Carr? Maybe, but even Derek Carr, they could, if he was terrible, they could be like, well, let's see what Spencer Rattler has.
I'd rather take rookies at that point. Like, I just think there's way more chance that they play way more weeks of the season than Geno.
Hey, Clay, you're playing the Eliminator though, so you cash after 7 weeks, and if Geno's probably terrible, you're probably not making money anyway. That's the other like side of these. It's even like Daniel Jones, like I'd be fine taking him in Eliminator. I think he's a good pick because it's like he's probably going to play like 11 games or something, even if he gets benched. Same thing. Like,
that'd be a good argument for Jerome Ford. Like, that's kind of the whole premise, is like you're going to get reliable week scoring out of him to hit your lineup.
The other thing, Clay, I would say
in particular
for this team, and I actually made this argument, I think, on Best Ball Breakfast, but I think the Geno and JSN correlation is particularly strong because JSN is the one kind of wild card of like, are we going to get the true breakout and he, lives up to what he was as a prospect, or is he just going to be another flop or whatever? Like, if JSN is unlocked, like Geno is going to be really good because they're going to have 3 really, really good wide receivers. Like, I just like that parlay of JSN with Geno because I think their high-end outcomes are really tied together.
I can get down with that, like that lane of thinking. I would still say, I don't know, man. I just feel like at some point Lockett's going to fall off. DK's an alpha, but he can be, in hiding at times. I think JSN can have a fine season and, be usable in this kind of format, and it doesn't mean anything to me for Geno's prospects personally. But I do agree that they're like on the highest outcome cases. I can see how Geno can be attached to JSN having a goated season. Just not my cup of tea.
To come back to you comparing like Geno or Daniel Jones to like Jerome Ford, is that like Jerome Ford's in an ambiguous room even without Nick Chubb. So like you don't know if he or Foreman are like the guy that's going to be the 1A. So like you're betting on early season, most likely only upside. And I think like, I don't know. I think personally, this is like a player take too. I think Chubb's like injury recovery timeline is like a little bit exaggerated. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but like he's probably the other like most freakiest human being other than Adrian Peterson, who recovered very fast from injuries. So like, I think it's like he's basically, people are pricing in that he's like missing the entire season almost. And so, but yeah, I think it's like Geno or any quarterback who's starting is like the clear guy, especially on like a floor case, versus Ford, who could like still be a backup even when Chubb is out. Like there's a chance at least.
Clay, you got to be really honest. How much of this take is an anti-Geno take or a pro Sam Howell take, who just so happened to went to the same university as you?
It's more of an anti-Geno take, to be honest. Truthfully, I mean, I have Sam Howell bias, undoubtedly. But I don't know. Like, it's not a reason why I'm not drafting Sam Howell either, because I'm not like super optimistic that he's going to have so many seasons out there. But this is painful click.
I mean, Clay's not a reliable narrator. Crutches, is this where we lock it up to make sure we don't get boxed out?
Yeah, this is like clear. The other thing is like the other thing to consider in this are which weeks have the fewest buys, which I think are 7, 9, and 10 maybe. So like it's obviously 12 and 14 are the heaviest buys, not on our team. I mean like across NFL teams. So like anytime you have a chance to get like a San Francisco receiver or someone like that, and it's going to be a pretty comfortable non-buy overlap situation. So I think Geno's really comfortable in that sense, and that like all the late round quarterbacks are Bo Nix 14, Drake May 14, Derek Carr 12, and then even the Pittsburgh guys, if you need a fallback, are week 9. So like you never run into bye week overlap issues, which, like I said, that's like my priority tiebreaker at quarterback, especially.
Yeah. We're about to pick here, and then I'll recap the teams. What do you think? Like, the Ray Davis fall seems pretty nice here to me for another running back. Anything else you see?
Yeah, we need running backs pretty bad. So.
Yeah, Clay, do you like Ray Davis?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And then normally I would be like Clyde no matter what, 18th round, but I'm not backstacking backfields in this format, or I'm not handcuffing backfields. So I have 31% Clyde in this format.
So here's our team through 15 rounds. We got Dak and Geno at quarterback. We're up to 5 running backs: Pacheco, Zach Moss, Zach Charbonnet, Antonio Gibson, and Ray Davis. Wide receiver: CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith, Keenan, Xavier Worthy, JSN. 2 tight ends: Goddard, Freiermuth. I think the big question is the onesies. One of these is probably getting to 3. Are we okay with like a 2 tight end build here, or a 2 quarterback build if it breaks that way?
Yeah, this is more than I spend at tight end anyway myself. So like I would usually be, if I went like a Goddard, I'd probably be like Juwan Johnson, second tight end, or Jonnu or someone. So usually I'm like way below like the bottom end of bucket 5 for tight end spending. A lot of times I'll have like Fant and Juwan Johnson as my only 2 tight ends. So and like I said, I never go 3 tight ends here. So
yeah, I'm like, unless something really falls to us like in the 18th, I wouldn't consider another tight end. I'm happy with 2 here. I think I like both the profiles. Quarterback, I mean, I could live with 2 if we like value at running back and wide receiver more and just want to get more chips on the table there. But I could be also happy to sneak in a 3rd because, like I said, not a Geno guy. I'm also off CEH too, so those are 2 different player takes I have than Crutches out here. But I just don't see how CH is going to get you the winning hit that you were looking for.
Why do you need Spike? That's like I think EZ made fun of me when I posted my final exposures in Antonio Gibson. He's like, "You're really gonna love those 3.4 points," and I was like, "I am, because I don't want zeros." So it's like that's basically what I want. Is you're giving me the pretty clear backup running back on the best team in the NFL. Like I will take that at 205 ADP. You know what I mean? So
is he the clear backup though? Like I just think it's too early for that to be like so solid.
You on the rugby guy, Clay?
I'm just not on it. Like I'm just pro Pacheco. Like Pacheco is going to be probably my highest draft. He's going to be my highest drafted running back for sure. And
all right,
so therefore I'm just not taking CH as much.
Since we last checked in on you, you had the Cooks, and then you sniped us on Marshawn Lloyd, grabbed Tyler Algier, and then made the most eliminator ass pick of all time, Adam Thielen, followed by one of the least eliminator picks of all time, Isaiah Likely. Really balancing your range there.
Yeah, I'm getting crazy. But I'm pretty sure Deez is going to ruin my life here and take Bryce Young. And I, as someone who has somehow found myself with 3 Carolina Panthers on my team, I really hope he doesn't.
Pete, can we?
Although I will say their team's put out great content in the offseason. If you're like hankering for some like Hard Knocks-esque stuff, they're already pumping out some good Bryce Young propaganda and Deontay Johnson propaganda for that matter.
I actually am kind of buying the floor on Bryce Young a bit.
Yeah.
This is where I would take Derek Carr here, just naked, as a 3rd quarterback.
Okay. Yeah.
Clay hates eliminators. Look at him. He's just like disgusted.
I don't get these picks for eliminator. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I guess, man, just like
Derek Carr's an amazing quarterback multiple weeks, and he has like a solid floor. I don't know.
What would you guys? He'll probably go here because this guy has a tight end. But would you consider 3 tight ends with Fant because we would have that stack, or no?
No.
I think I'd rather take another swing at wide receiver.
I feel personally like with my style of building, I feel way behind at running back still. Like I probably would have not, like I definitely wouldn't have taken Freiermuth, but that was tough because all the running backs we liked went. Yeah, so it's a little bit tough there, but I definitely think
I like a lot. I mean, let's go Eli Mitchell. Like if something happens to CMC, like he is bankable points, right? Like
yeah, but I would rather have early weeks. So like I would go. And he's gonna vomit at this. Bye weeks don't. I was gonna go say Tanks Bigsby is like my backup pick here. This is so gross. Yeah, I guess
There's
it's
there's
probably
no
Elijah
reliable
Mitchell.
guy really for like early season.
Do you want to
You know,
just
you're
do the
kinda,
CH and we'll figure it out later?
That's fine. Yeah.
where are we using
Eh,
CH though? Like why if we're taking CH, why not Elijah Mitchell? Because aren't we saying like if we have Pacheco, like I don't understand how CH fits into that.
Because we're just surviving, Clay. We're surviving. We're locking up the KC backfield.
Yeah, it's basically 1 week CEH Vulture is a touchdown, and
Yeah, I mean, I've never handcuffed
Elijah
in this
Mitchell's good
format.
for that. He vultures quite a few touchdowns on a consistent basis, even when
Yeah,
CMC's healthy.
I would have clicked Elijah there, but it was a little bit of a weird spot and we're on stream. So, but typically like I would have clicked Deontay Foreman there. So like that would have been like an easy click for me, as like an early season running back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's not the worst thing like for a completely 18th round running back to handcuff, but yeah, I don't like handcuffing because the overlapping buys plus the not downside, but yeah, it's just a little bit.
If Pacheco goes down, this team's fucked. So we're like,
I appreciate Tyler with a just normal analysis. CH has standalone role as RB2, and then Thaddeus, standalone on the sideline.
That's what I'm talking about. Away from the rest of the team.
And then
yeah, I actually, because we reached on Gibson and you mentioned he was one of your highest drafted players. Talk about what has you so hyped on him.
Not much other than they'll be losing every game and probably dumping the ball off to him. And I guess naturally, like I told you, the quarterback stuff. So you stack Drake May with Antonio Gibson, and then you grab like Javon Baker or Jalen Polk or Hunter Henry most likely late. So it's like I do Hunter Henry, or I get Gibson, Hunter Henry, and Drake May, and I'm like, well, like this team sucks, but they're priced completely for free. So like I don't want to say there's only upside, but I think like everybody's pricing them in for the 4.5 wins, and you're getting the passing down back in a team that's probably going to lose 12 games. So yeah, I think it's just a good like floor play as like a running back 5-6.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, he's like my RB6 right there, and I'm basically just like fully hammering running backs until Antonio Gibson. And then if I miss out, a lot of times he's my RB5, and then I just do the CEH click back if I don't have Pacheco.
Does Ray Davis go that late in most of these, or was this unique to our room?
I don't think he's always going super late, but he's probably more likely to fall. But yeah, he's not like too crazy of a value typically.
Yeah. All right, Andy. Ooh, Gardner Minshew here. You did get Bryce Young because D's went Drake May instead, and then you came back and got Minshew with Bowers, right?
I also have Devontae Adams.
Oh, and Devontae. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Aren't you worried about AOC?
Not at all.
So you see what's happening with the 3 quarterbacks, and why I say you just reach on your quarterbacks early here. This is like
just the run.
Every room is like, I'm panicked. I want a third. I'm grabbing like Sam Darnold for the early season.
Taysom.
It's classic start.
Man, that's bankable 8 points a week.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually I feel like I'm higher on Gardner Minshew. Not that that means that much, considering he's like literally unranked in the ETR rankings for the Eliminator. But I think he's going to play quarterback for a team, and so it's just kind of crazy to me that he's literally unranked.
Yeah, I think, Andy, I agree with you. Like, my thing is, if you need a fallback quarterback, him and I think Russell Wilson are 2 really undervalued picks in this format, because you just look at Vegas like odds to start the season, right? But that's why I say to just reach on your third, because I'd rather just never have to stoop to that, So this is definitely a wide receiver, and we can probably just grab Tolbert or Rondale Moore. Oh, Greg Dortch is actually pretty clearly
Dortch.
Yeah, Dortch,
we get
no bye
nice
weeks.
There.
And
yeah, that's the other thing. Dortch just usually lines up really good with bye weeks, and he's just, I think, by far the best pick here. I mean, dude's just a good player. Not to do the Davis Maddock thing, but
Short King Summer, bro. Do you take any Pop Douglas?
No, I've historically been lower on him just because I try to get Jalen Polk ideally if I know I'm going like setting up a main stack, but.
I like how you said historically, like you have this long, twisted history with Pop Douglas.
So historically is accurate for crutches.
I've been grinding these. It feels like forever. So I wish there were like a higher stakes. That's like the only thing that's not good. But I think without the without the regular season sweats on like BBM this year, it's like a really good format. And I was hoping after last year they would make it bigger. So they did. Like I said, I would love to see like a big dog style eliminator, you know, with just higher stakes. But yeah, definitely a good contest, I think. And I think it's the most like solvable, like, and obviously I'm not saying I have the right thoughts. But I think if you think through it, like, you know, there's less pod stuff. It's more just like, how do I advance as many teams as I can? And what's the best structure for that? So I think it's probably like, and the reason I did these early is I think I want to wait for camp to see, like, you know, obviously everyone talks about who's the Kyron kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think like you can hit the singles in the 18th round with like Greg Dortch and Khalif Raymond here and just be happy while everyone is like taking Taysom Hill and stuff. So like, so I think that's the reason, like, you can get bankable points late, do this early, and then like now I'm just maxing the DK main, and then July I'll be maxing like BBM. So just like that's the schedule I was doing.
Nice. Real quick before we recap the teams, thank you, Tyler. As always, the gifted membership looks like it went to our guy Johnny Footballs. Andy, let's get the rundown of your team, and then we'll do a final rundown of ours before we get out of here. What did you end up with?
Yeah. So I went 3 QBs with Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, and Gardner Minshew. You know, real cream of the crop when it comes to quarterbacks. And I went for a 3-6-7-2. I have ETN, Joe Mixon, Jonathan Brooks, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyler Algier, and Tank Bigsby at running back. And then I have Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Roma Dunze, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks, and Adam Thielen at wide receiver. And then Brock Bowers and Isaiah Likely at tight end.
So you caught a secondhand high of the hand-cucking fever. We did the Pacheco CEH. You did the ETN Bigsby. I mean, my only thought is this room seems a little scary tight end wise. Like you could be a little exposed early, but if Brock Bowers gets off to a fast start, then you're golden.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, I would have wanted to be 3-3 with quarterback and tight end, but I didn't feel comfortable not taking a 6th running back as well. So I think if I had a pick back, it would have been the Thielen pick, and I would have made that a running back, or, you know, tried to move things around a little bit there. But I felt like I was too thin to not do 2 tight ends.
Every single time a drafter has ever clicked Adam Thielen, they've immediately thought after the draft, I wish I could have that one back. All right. I'll recap mine, and then we'll get Crutches and Clay's final thoughts on this team. 3-6-7-2, Dak, Geno, Derek Carr, our running backs, Pacheco, Zach Moss, Zach Charbonnet, Antonio Gibson, Ray Davis, and CEH. Wide receivers, Lamb, Nico, Devonta Smith, Keenan, Xavier Worthy, JSN, and Greg Dortch. Tight ends, Dallas Goedert and Pat Freiermuth. Structurally, this sounded kind of like what you like to do, right, Crutches?
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, like, is if you're going to do these for like max out the volume, just think about like, even right now you're saying you feel uncomfortable with this room. Like I'm out on Isaiah Likely. So that's more like a player take thing. I just, you know, if Andrews is healthy, I think like I'm taking Fant or Jonnu Smith or something. But I think like you want to feel uncomfortable at tight end because like I use the example of the Dog Bowl qualifiers where Sobe won like a GPP with half a point from George Kittle. So like, think about it in a format where like 8 out of 12, 10 out of 12 advance, you know, the worst weeks are 50%. So the worst advance rate you're going to have is 50% on a week for some of the tougher weeks after week 10. And like, you just don't need the ceiling, I think, at tight end. It's like cash games, which $2,800, $2,500 guy kind of stick in there to get me a few points or a touchdown and then just get all the studs everywhere else. So
nice. Clay, I know a couple decisions didn't go your way. Do you still want equity in this team?
Look, I'll take my chances that you know, I gotta have some exposure to the other side of the fence here with some of Crutches' takes. But I'm a little, you know what? I'm gonna mark my calendar for week 7 when we have to take a 0 at quarterback because both Geno Smith and Derek Carr are benched. And that's gonna suck. But you know what? Life goes on, and it's an alpha CD season, so I like the team other than that.
I will say that the NFL season will have gone pure chaos if Geno and Derek Carr aren't starting in week 7. There will be a lot of trickle down effects there.
I like that.
That of course. Andy, anything going on in your neck of the woods? What's up with IKB these days?
Baseball season. If anyone's a baseball guy, we have a couple of the badge bros and friends who've been playing the dailies over there, which is fun. But not too much right now. It's kind of a quiet time. Anyone who've been playing and farming blast stuff, that's kind of coming to an end with their token coming out tomorrow. So I think there'll be some new incentives come whatever a season 2 looks like. But yeah, not too much. Kind of just like making sure everything's all ready for NFL season now. We just recently updated our pick'ems to kind of look a little bit more like how underdogs look, with a lot of like multiplier stuff, so you can really play anything. I think we have a pretty nice selection now as far as what you can pick, but right now really just baseball season, kind of a sports lull other than best ball.
Nice. Clay, I saw, were you at an event in Brooklyn recently for the beer?
Actually, I was in Alpine, New Jersey yesterday for a City Harvest charity golf event. Saw our guy Jaw, which was dope.
I saw your photo of him on the tee box.
Yeah, it was sick. I literally we had a tent next to Hill Country Barbecue, and the guy there was pretty well versed in the scene. He was like, "Yeah, Jaw's be pulling up." So I sent him a text. 5 seconds later, his golf cart pulls up, and the first hole he played of the day, because it was a shotgun start, was our hole beginning. So we're having a blast, man. Our beer came out Limelight with Bronx Brewery. If you're in New York, it's available at all the Bronx Brewery locations right now. We had a great pre-order for online sales with our distributor, so enjoying it. It's a great tasting beer, Golden Ale Calamonte Lime. So yeah, and if you're in the city, I'm going to be down tomorrow afternoon at the East Village location of Bronx doing a little sampling. So come through, say what's up.
There you go. Crutches, you got anything to plug? You're always popping off Twitter feed. Anything else?
No, I'm just tilting on Twitter. Nothing to follow unless you want. I'll be chatting Eliminator on Neil's stream on Friday. So if you have more like questions or anything, pop over there. I think that'll be a longer format. So so down to chat through anything there too. So
yes, I didn't realize Crutches mentioned that to me, that I was scooping Neil. I hadn't realized that he had been booked, but get your double dose of Crutches this week over on Neil's stream.
More Gino propaganda.
Yeah, exactly.
With no pushback, yeah.
With no pushback. No, that's we got to have some disagreements around here. I love it. Tomorrow for me, Swolecast with the Badge Bros, we'll be doing Off and On the Clock at 2. We're gonna have shady advice on lulls on Thursday. Talk about leg ups, new tool. Some controversial opinions there. Also, a crazy story with DraftKings and Spanky that surfaced today. We're gonna talk about that on lulls.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Wild story.
Yeah.
We'll have ship chasing. Randomizer isn't going to be on Thursday night this week. Didn't really want to go up against the presidential debate. And Ian and I are going to do it Friday afternoon. That'll be the randomizer. So yeah, I think that is the schedule for me. And like I mentioned, I'll have another video up on the Deposit Kingdom channel this week as well. Thank you guys for hanging out, and we will see you guys next time on the club. Peace out.